Parish, Mr. Baker, Mr. Cox, Mr. Dominic, Mr. Epperson, Mr. Escobedo, Mr. Jenkins, Glenn, Ms. Lynch, Mr. Pellet, Mr. Pearson, Mr. Smith, Mr. Thibodeau. Here. Now, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ask Commissioner Jenkins to lead us in the invocation. And Cox in the place, please.
Father God, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings. Father God, we just thank you for our visitors and our guests who are here today as a part of this meeting, others who will be coming to participate in the conference that's going to begin later on today. Father God, we just thank you for people like Mr. Kelly, citizens in our community that we're going to be honoring today who have done a lot to make this a good parish and a good place to live. We ask your blessings on each member of this commission body, on our administration as a whole. We ask your blessing on our employees, and most of all, we lift up, ask your blessings on our citizens that they will be successful in their family life, their pursuits, and in their businesses. These blessings we ask in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any agenda additions from anyone at this time? Anyone? Okay, we'll move on. We're going to save our. Let's see here. I need a motion to adopt the regular minutes. August 5th. Second. Been moved by Commissioner Dominic and seconded by Commissioner Smith to adopt the regular meeting minutes of August 5th. Is there any discussion on that motion? If not, please vote. All right, thank you. We're going to save our special resolutions for a little later on to give some people some time to be here. So at this time, we'll go ahead and go to communication reports. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and President Escate. I have a couple of presentations. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd like to, we have one of the members of our administrative team reached a real important milestone in his career. And I'd like for Mr. Kerry Kirby to come forward, please. He doesn't know why he's here, so I have to trick him and give him his name.
Okay, doesn't know why he's here. You ever been fired in public before? By administrator. Well, we move my poor man wrapping paper. This is an award that Mr. Ted Cox prepared for Mr. Kerry on his retirement from the Army. And Kerry is a member of our team, and he's done 20 years of active reserve time. And 28 years. I'm sorry, it didn't take 8 years from him. And he retired at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. And I'd like to present this award to him that says, in sincere appreciation for your many years of dedicated service to our nation and for the honorable duty in the U.S. Army from 1982 to 2010, presented by the Cal Parish Commission and the staff on August 2010. It says, the pen is mightier than the sword, except in close combat. So, thank you so much on behalf of the organization, our parish, and our county, our nation. Thank you for the dedicated service you have given to our country in its defense. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.
You gotta say something.
I want me one of those now.
Say something, say anything.
Really am speechless. I really didn't know this was coming. They really did put on a good show. Pretense to get me here. Totally surprised. So I really do appreciate it. Support.
it was a long 28 years, but I would do it again. I do have to say that. There were several times away from family and missed events. Just trying times sometimes, but it was all worth it. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam, were you on to something, were you up for something else?
Yes, it was something else.
Okay, Commissioner Dominic.
You just want to run away and just, you don't want to talk to us. Because you came in here a while ago and you were kind of nervous, I think, and I started to tell you that Woody was going to fire you, but I figured you'd just pass out. But I appreciate, knowing your family and you for many years. I know your mother and father, if they were here, they'd be very proud of you, and just appreciate your wonderful service. And Ted did a wonderful job of spearheading this campaign to get this done for you, so best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
Anyone else? Yeah, I just want to tell you personally how much I thank you as someone who has had family members be deployed and be away, know what it's like to miss them. But the sacrifices that you and all of our servicemen and women, the beginning of time have made for this country, should not be overlooked. And, I thank God every day that there are brilliant, good, dedicated men and women who are out there doing what needs to be done so that we can be here doing what we do. So you have my sincerest thanks, and I wish you the best in life and the rest of your career.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I'd like to have Ms. Erica Bryan come forward at this time, please. Erica, would you join me at the podium, please?
Mr. Real Fire.
Okay. The money's okay?
All right, everything else is okay.
All right, Commissioner, I'd just like to read something to you. We have another notable achievement to hands of Ms. Erica Bryan, so I'd like to read this to you. It says, Ms. Erica Bryan has earned the certification as a senior professional in human resources. Very coveted and much sought-after award and certification. The certification award by the HR Certification Institute signifies that Erica possesses a theoretical knowledge and practical experience in human resource management necessary to pass a rigorous examination demonstrating mastery of the field. Certification as a human resources professional clearly demonstrates a commitment to personal excellence and to the human resources profession. To become certified, an applicant must pass a comprehensive examination and demonstrate a strong background of the professional human resources experience. The HR Certification Institute is a credentialing body of human resource professionals and is affiliated with Society of Human Resource Management, also known as SHRM, the world's largest organization dedicated exclusively to the human resources profession. The institution proposed to promote the establishment of professional standards and recognize professionals who meet those standards. And just recently, on June the 25th, Erica took her exam after much preparation, dedication, and hard work, and she passed. And the certificate says that it committed to higher standards, hereby certified that Erica Bryan, SPHR, another thing after her name now, having met or demonstrated the distinction of high standards of education and experience and demonstrated knowledge established by this institute, has been certified as a senior professional in human resources. And I'd like to present her this certificate, let you all see it, that we are in good hands even with the money and HR matters. So Erica, I'm proud of you.
She didn't get a knife?
Someone knew better. Her hands are lethal weapons, so she don't need a knife.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, good job, well done.
That pen is mightier than the sword coat?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Wilson and the commission for your support. I couldn't have taken this exam without the support of the commission and Mr. Wilson. And also my husband for watching the children. Wow. Thank him also. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
That concludes my report today, sir.
You done, Mr. Wilson? Okay. Mr. Jenkins?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to just remind everyone that the Black Caucus of the Louisiana Police Jury Association will be hosting its economic summit. It begins today. We'll have our kickoff at 4 o'clock. We certainly want to invite any and all to come down and participate. The summit will go through Saturday noon. There will be a number of different workshops and events, and we certainly want to invite any and all to participate. The Black Caucus, in and of itself, is a part of the Louisiana Police Jury Association. We're not a separate group. We simply focus on some of the unique issues that are faced by our inner city and urban commissioners. We do not exclude anyone, and we certainly want the participation of everyone with our group. I have had the privilege to serve as president of this organization over the past year, and we'll be turning over the reins to a new president. Ms. Lisa Johnson will be coming in as president out of West Baton Rouge Parish. I want to express my appreciation to all of my colleagues here for the support that you've shown me over the past year, and you've been very accommodating even today with moving our meeting up so that you'll be free to, some of us can be free, and I hope all of us will be free to participate in the kickoff that's going to begin at 4 p.m. today. All events will be held at Sam's Town. You're welcome to come and join us and be a part of what we're doing there. We want our citizens to also know that they can participate in some of the workshops. There will be some very valuable information being exchanged there on a lot of economic subjects, and we believe that it will also give our citizens an opportunity to kind of see what we do when we go to conferences. I know we talk a lot about travel and going to these conferences, but this will give them an opportunity to see that it's not all play. There is a lot of work involved and a lot of information that we receive to bring back and to help our parish a better place and also better represent our citizens. So I want to extend a welcome to many of the colleagues from around the state, police jurors and commissioners and council persons, and express a thank you to many of the sponsors of these events and many of the presenters who've taken our time to come and participate in this event. I want to put the best face on for Caddo Parish and for the city. We look forward to you participating in some form or fashion, and we just want to say thank you once again for a great year, and I know there have been times that we've had to travel with this and you've supported that, and I just want my colleagues to know how much I appreciate your support over the past year. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I would, I think I speak for us all, I'd like to just personally say how much I admire you. Within 2 years as a member of the organization, climbing your way up to be the leader of the organization. Either nobody else wanted it or you drive the right people. Nonetheless, it's quite an accomplishment, and it brings good things as far as the image of Caddo Parish, and I appreciate your work and proud of you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Lynn?
As a member of the Louisiana State Black Caucus, I want everyone to know that Sam was chosen as a president because of his leadership abilities.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. You've now removed all suspicion. Okay. Commissioner Apperson.
I have a correspondent from a constituent, and this is Mr. Robert Glass of the Public Works Department as well as the administration. It comes from Mr. Dennis C. Minor, 8849 Shirley Francis Road. Commissioner Epperson, I would like to thank the following Caddo Parish employees that are assigned to the Caddo Parish Commission South Camp for a job well done. The employees are James Lyles, Michael Foray, Benny Hayes, Alan Tolliver, and Larry Keller. These employees cleaned the lateral ditch by our home at 8849 Shirley Francis Road, solving a flooding problem I had had for years. Each person went about his job in a timely and professional manner and showed great pride in the work that they accomplished, and they are a credit to the Caddo Parish Commission. Please thank everyone for a job well done. Sincerely, Mr. Dennis C. Minor. Mr. Glass. Also on Wednesday,
August the 25th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Bill Cockrell Community Center Gymnasium, 4109 Pines Road. I will be hosting an update meeting regarding oil and gas activity and pipeline activity. Our guest presenters will be Chesapeake Energy, Mr. Kevin McCullough, and Holland Acquisitions, LLC, Mr. Wayne Janka. I've also invited our state representatives Burrell, Williams, and Morris, and also our state senators Cheeks and Jackson. Recently, I've been inundated with a number of calls from my constituents due to the increase in pipeline and oil and gas drilling activity within the community. So I wanted to give them an update so they can get the information straight from the people that are actually performing these functions and get factual information. I also asked Mr. Robert Glass to be present and also a member of the legal department if they could be present, because we have a couple of ordinances. I want to make sure that we differentiate between what our responsibilities and duties and what we can legally do versus the Department of Natural Resources, which is the State Department. That's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epson. Any other communiques? Okay, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Is there anyone here who would like to address the commission at this time on any matter other than zoning or that is not up for a public hearing? That's not quite. You want to talk about the term limits? I'll call you in just a second. We'll get right there in just a minute. You're on the agenda. All right, being none, we'll move on. We'll go to public hearing of ordinances, please. Yes, sir. Your first ordinance, 5003, amends your riverboat fund budget in the amount of $25,000 for the Red River Rebel. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Next item, please. Ordinance 5004 authorizing intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rosessa concerning recreational services. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in opposition? Next, please. Ordinance 5005 proposes an amendment to the Caddo Parish Home Rule Charter. Anyone here to speak in favor of this? Ms. Lola Kendrick? State your name and address for the record, and welcome.
I'm Lola Kendrick. I live at 9446 Brown Boulevard here in Shreveport. I've been a member of the Caddo League of Women Voters for 30 years, and I've served on the Louisiana State League Board for 8 years. My purpose here today is to ask you, the Commission, to let voters decide the issue of term limits. The League of Women Voters opposes term limits because we already have term limits. They're called elections. Voters can exercise term limits at the ballot box by voting to end the term of any office holder who does not do a good job of representing his or her constituents. It's been more than a decade since Caddo voters had the opportunity to reconsider term limits. We support David Cox's proposal to place the issue on the ballot this fall and let Caddo voters decide. That's the American way. The purpose of the League at the national level and at the state level and at the local level is to encourage citizens of all ages and of all areas to get registered, to get informed, and go vote. We urge you as a Commission simply to place the term limits issue on the ballot this fall and let Caddo voters decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kendrick. Susan Bettinger?
I am Susan Bettinger. I live at 3814 Cresswell Avenue in Shreveport. I am a member of the League of Women Voters, and I am here to request that the Commission allow the voters to decide on the issue of term limits. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here
to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this ordinance? All right, next item, please.
Ordinance 5006, declares certain property of the parish to be surplus, heavy equipment, earth filters, and authorize their sale.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition?
Very well. Move on. Ordinance 5007 leases a portion of land in Earl Williamson Park for placement of an ice machine to serve park patrons.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in opposition? Next item, please.
Ordinance 5008 deems various parish property to be surplus, authorizes the sale of that property.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Thank you.
Ordinance 5009 declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus and authorizes the sale of tax interest therein.
Anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone to speak in opposition? Continue, please.
So concludes the public hearing. I will proceed with considering those same ordinances for final passage. First ordinance 5003, amend your riverboat fund budget for $25,000 for Red River rubble.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Lynn and seconded by Commissioner McCullough. Approval of ordinance 5003. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please vote. Ms. McCullough? Thank you. That passes. Next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 5004 authorizes an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Odessa Recreational Services.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Dominic and seconded by Commissioner McCullough. The approval of ordinance 5004. Is there any discussion on the motion? Please vote. That passes. Next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 5005 proposes an amendment to the Caddo Parish Home Rule Charter.
So moved. Moved by Commissioner Cox, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Is there any discussion on the motion? The maker? Yes, sir.
As it was stated from our guest here today, all we're trying to do is get this back out to the voters. After so many years, we have forgotten that we've got new voters in this parish. We have forgotten that other people have different way of thinking. We have forgotten that this is an ordinance to give a person the right to vote for who they want every term that they come up. If they don't like them, you vote them out. If you like them, you keep them in. It's nothing to benefit me. It's to benefit the people of this parish. And I would ask that you support this and give it to the people and let them decide. If they voted up, fine. If they voted down, they've had the opportunity to go back, look at this issue again, and tell us how they feel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Pearson is the second. Do you wish to speak?
Yes, I do. I thought a lot about this, and I think about an employer and an employee who the employer says, look, you've done a fine job and you've been on time to work, you've worked hard, and I'm just really proud of the work you've done. And look, you've been here 12 years, and I just think it's time to get somebody different. And then I thought about my wife, if my wife would say, look, you've been a good husband, a good provider. You watch the children, you take, you clean the clothes, and you run all the machines in the house and cut grass and all that. But I think it's just time for some of those 12 years you've been around. It just might be time for a new one. And here I'm over there from Allendale. It's just something wrong with that. That people ought to make the decision. I think the people ought to be the ones that ultimately determine just whether or not you're doing what you're supposed to do at any point, whether it's 4 years or 12 years or 20 years, the people ought to make that decision. I think it's important to get this back to the people and let them make a decision, like Commissioner Cox says, whether or not they want to support it or whether or not they will not support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Coach. That's why I like it. You kind of got that Larry the Cable Guy way of putting things. It's pretty good. Commissioner Lodes.
Say, in 1984, the voters of Caddo Parish overwhelmingly voted for a new form of government, which is still very rare in the state of Louisiana today, and that is being governed by a home rule charter with an administrator commissioner form of government. That singular action transformed the culture of the Caddo Parish Commission, and those of you who know our history can attest to that. In 1991, an amendment was made to the charter imposing term limits of 3 4-year terms for elected members of this commission. That was passed overwhelmingly by the voters. The voters again registered their overwhelming support for term limits in 1999. The founding fathers, and I would say mothers as well, of the Caddo Parish Home Rule Charter, in their wisdom to keep the charter relevant, current, and to ensure civic involvement, provided that any proposed changes to the charter would be reviewed by a citizens committee. The citizen charter reviews of 2003 and 2007 did not call for any changes relative to term limits, although there was an opportunity for the committee to do so. Of course, the Caddo Parish Commission still reserves the right to either accept or reject the committee's recommendations, or to even add or subtract from the committee's recommendation. That was not done in regards to term limits. This provision of ensuring citizen participation and involvement in proposed charter changes has over time helped the Caddo Parish Commission to earn the respect of our voters and also of other governing bodies locally in the region as well as in our state. In 2008, an attempt to abandon this civic involvement for such a significant change to our charter was rejected by this commission on a vote of 8-4. Now here we are 2 years later, as the hoofbeats of the end of some commission members' terms approach. We're talking about doing with term limits again, through a process not of civic involvement but of civic abandonment. The Policies and Procedures Committee considered this matter earlier this year, and the recommendation for that committee was to either reconvene the Charter Review Committee or to establish a separate Citizens Committee to review this matter before it was actually put on the agenda for consideration. That was never done. The explanation I heard on Monday from the chair of that committee was that although the committee had made a separate recommendation, that he felt, I guess there was some urgency to go on and put it on the agenda for today. What we have here today is not a referendum from the people or from our voters. The electorate has accepted term limits as a viable alternative to having lifetime elected officials. What we have here today is an attempt by some for, I don't want to guess what reasons. I have my opinion about that. But I think at some point we as elected officials have to come to terms with term limits. The Caddo Parish Commission is certainly not the only body that has term limits. City Council, the Mayor's Office, the Governor, state reps, state senators also have them. Our charter has worked successfully for the past 19 years without a single charter review committee recommending abolishing term limits. A vote for this measure today is a vote to go back to the way we were. I cannot speak for other parishes. I know one parish in South Louisiana abolished term limits this year, or other government entities, but for the Caddo Parish Commission, term limits has worked successfully. Governing is not a perfect science, and yes, there are downsides to term limits. There are downsides.
But our good days with term limits have far outweighed our bad days with or without term limits. Currently, only 2 of our 12 members have been here continuously for the last 11 years. 2 left and returned. The remaining 8 of us are brand new, 5 of whom had never run for public office before. That would not have been possible had it not been for term limits. In the 7 years that I've been here, we've lost Jim Morris, Giff Gillen, Joyce Bowman, Herschel Brown, Lindora Baker for a period of time, Bob Brown, Ron Webb, and Cliff Collins. They made their contributions during the time they served, but we gained Doug, Matthew, Sam, Mike, and Jim. And some might think we're worse off than we were before, but I would beg to differ on that. I think we're better because we realize that the institution that's called the Caddo Parish Commission does not exist based on 1 commissioner or 2 commissioners. We have survived when people have left for whatever reason, whether that's to go to other offices or whether they have term limited off this body. But the collective majority and the will of this public body, regardless of who sits here, is to serve the citizens of Caddo Parish to the best of their ability during the time that we serve. You cannot argue with or against success. And I would ask that we just consider that the model that we have with term limits has been successful and to not change that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lynch. Commissioner Dominic. Just a few words that I would like to say. Term limits, as Commissioner Lynch has said, was voted on in 1991. I believe that it's served us well. I see no right to put that back before the people. I agree with Ms. Bench on everything you said, but I do agree that we have had a citizen review committee, and they had their chance to look at this, and they did not recommend that to us. But I see no reason that we need to put this back on. I think it has served us well. I will not be voting for this. I will be voting against it. I hope each of you join with me. I'm probably in the minority of this. I do not think that anybody has any hidden agendas here. I see both sides to the story, but that's my position, and that's the way I'm going to vote, and I respect yours, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Epperson.
I didn't think hard and long on this issue. What I did was reflect back to basically how the Home Rule Charter came into play. Whereas the police jury situation is dictated primarily by the Constitution of the state of Louisiana, we have an opportunity to do our own charter, which was partly incepted by commissioners as well as citizens having input in getting the initial charter going. And one of the processes that we utilize in getting changes was also to have a citizens review committee. And one of the concerns that I hear often from constituents is it appears as though what we think we are not appreciated or we are not contacted. We can see that some of our state delegations have been looking at getting citizens more involved in situations on local government entities. We see the changes that have been made, whereas now we have to afford an opportunity for citizens to speak about an issue that may come up. I think we just had a new one on. You know, we have to allow public input at every level. Each time that there's a vote come up, we should afford an opportunity for the citizens to have a say in that vote, not just bring something up from the floor, whereas there is no citizens' input or concerns relative to those issues. Also, during my early tenure here, we had a couple of citizens committees to come and review the charter. They made a number of recommendations. However, those recommendations never made it to the ballot. You know, they were voted down before we never even brought them up. So I think we would be doing a disservice to just arbitrarily pick an issue out because we'll be circumventing the process. I think that was the basis. That's a good foundation for our home rule charter. That's citizen involvement in making recommendations and what goes in and what goes out of it. So I will be voting against this measure today also.
Thank you. Commissioner Thibodeau?
I think it's the responsibility of the citizen of the United States to vote. And if citizens decide that a particular office should only be held no longer than X amount of years or whatever, then that's fine, they can vote that. But what we're being asked to do today is not to change term limits. We're not asking, the vote today only says we're giving the public an opportunity. If they want to change, they can change. If not, then they vote the same way they did the last time. There's no additional cost to do this because we already will be voting that day anyway, so it doesn't cost us anything to put this on the ballot. And I still believe, there was a time, and it wasn't long ago, that I thought term limits were probably pretty good. In the years that I've seen term limits take place over the different offices, I haven't seen any great changes in quality of people. To start with the state, all I saw was a bunch of people from the House who term limited who ran for the Senate, and vice versa. So term limits certainly does not guarantee a higher quality individual. The only thing that will guarantee a higher quality individual is for the voters to say, I'm not satisfied with who's in that seat right now, and I'm going to put somebody else in it. That's the only thing that will ever guarantee a better person than what you already have. And last, I still believe the greatest term limits that we have are the public who votes. And so I've kind of changed my mind on the subject, and I would like to allow the voters to determine whether they want to continue with term limits or not. If they don't, fine. If they do, I mean, for me personally, I'm going to be too old once I turn them, and I'm not going to want to go any longer. I don't even know if I'm going to go to term limits, but I think government already puts too many walls up for the voters to begin with, and I think voters need to say, I want you to stay, or I don't want you to stay, and that's all that we're asking the voters to do. They're giving you that opportunity. It's not costing you more money to do it, and if you want to come back and say you're crazy and you still want term limits and 100% want to vote for it, then that's fine. You're going to be voting anyway, so we're not asking you to do anything. You don't even have to go for a separate vote. You're going to already be in the voting booth anyhow. So that's how we're doing, just allowing another vote. It's been 11 or 12 years since the last vote. I don't see any harm in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thibodeau. Commissioner Smith?
You know, I have some of the same feelings as I've expressed to most of my fellow commissioners about this, and at first I just didn't think I could vote for it. Then I had to go back and reflect on my own position here on the commission, and how little I knew when I came here, and still don't know enough, or I'm learning every day, because it's not an easy position to do, because I think many things are happening now in our commission that never happened before to the commission, and most of them are good and good opportunities. I had another perspective also. As probably some of you know, I have a family member who serves in the Senate. I've watched that person, my daughter, learn over all of these years and what she has to do to keep up with the Senate, and what good training she really had, because she started working for a senator right out of high school. So now she's very shortly going to be term limited out, although I'm glad because I want her home. But all of this knowledge that she's gained now is going out the window. And I've talked to my fellow Commissioner Jim Morris and asked him what a tough time he had. And if you listen to him and say, man, what they throw at you down here that you don't know. And it's not easy. So it's not easy to learn it. It's not easy to stay there or here and do a job. And I'm like Mr. Thibodeau, I won't be here to serve 3 terms because I just can't. But I think we should let the voters decide for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner McCullough?
Yes, I I was reflecting back in the I think it was 1990s. My father, the late Honorable Hersey B. Wilson, was deceased in 1998, but prior to his death, I just recall and I just remember vividly him talking about term limits, and at the time that term limits was brought before this body, the vote was they voted for term limits, and I just recall at that time, my father, who had served over 20-some years, really had the desire to remain on this body, but of course term limits was voted in. And since I've had the opportunity to serve these past 10 years, with 2 years left to serve on this board, and of course, most of you know that I am seeking the Shreveport City Council District A seat. And of course, I feel like I'm in a win-win situation because, you know, if I win the city council, I get the city council. If I lose the city council, I get to come back to the Caddo Parish Commission with 2 years left. But even if this body would today vote to get rid of term limits, I see that as a great asset to me because, as I said, I have to consider the fact that although I'm seeking the city council seat, there's a possibility that I could lose. Of course, I'm looking to win, but it gives me an opportunity based on the knowledge that I have acquired up to this point, and I really empathize more so now than ever before with my father, and I was actually able to see why it was that he really didn't agree with getting rid of, actually voting for term limits because of the service that he had provided to mankind for 20-something years. So today I am, based on my experience, and I really feel that God is not through with me yet, that I have more work to do. I would like to be able to freely walk back onto this commission with this body voting against term limits.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Commissioner Escobar, you need to know that at a couple of the last conferences that I attended, when this idea surfaced with this commission, I kind of did a personal poll at several conferences, and it appeared to me that to have term limits is just something that most governmental entities are not even practicing now. I mean, I felt like a sore thumb at some point. So it seems like it's something that's not really common in governmental entities now. So I am going to vote today because of what's inside of me, and that is the desire and the courage and the tenacity to continue to serve the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCullough. I have some thoughts on it as well. I am a lot like most of you. Back in, whenever it was, the mid-'90s, I got caught up in the Newt Gingrich and Contract with America movement when this first idea came up. And I guess if you looked at things, you thought, well, they're out of hand, it'd be a way to get some new faces. And I was young, in my early 30s, and got caught up in that. And now that I've had time to see over the years the effect that it's had, in some ways it's been good. You get new faces in there, but in other ways you lose your experience and you get worse people in there. But most notable was the people who first brought this idea up, my own party and Newt Gingrich. They didn't impose it on themselves. So that a lot of them continue to serve, the same people that brought up this idea. So, and then I started thinking about it, and our founding fathers, when they wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, did not provide for that. And I'm a big believer in particularly John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin. And if they didn't think about it, or if they thought about it and didn't think it was worth putting in there, then there was a reason. And those guys have predicted the state that we're in today. I'll tell you what term limits has brought us to with the state legislature, as Commissioner Smith brought up. had a bunch of people had to leave after years, experienced legislators in Baton Rouge. We've got some new faces. We had some hop from one body to the other. And now, for no reason at all, in the biggest fiscal mess we've ever been in the state's history, facing a $2.5 billion deficit, because the few people that had experience down there were running rings around everybody else who doesn't know their way around yet. So, is that good? Is it bad? No, I don't know. If you look at our neighboring parishes, the school board, Bossier City, Bossier Parish Police, they don't have it. And got lots of friends in Bossier, and if they got a bad apple, they're very good at tossing them out. But lastly, what I think we ought to do is this, that if we view our charter, or any government, or any document as finite and true, infinitely, and the only document that I prefer to believe that is such as that is the Bible, that everything else in life is a working document subject to our change in experience, then our charter is no different. This was first approved in the 90s, and the voters had the opportunity and thought it was a good idea. I view this the same you would a 10-year tax millage. Okay? After 10 years, we'll offer the opportunity to renew it if it's done its job and it's done a good thing, or reject it if it hasn't. It's the same thing. I'm not going to tell the people of Caddo Parish that you're not smart enough to revisit an issue and either reaffirm the decision that was made or change it. Thank you. Commissioner Epperson?
Call for the question.
Second. Question's been moved and called. Call for the question. We'll vote on calling for the question, please. That passes. Now we'll call for the question, and that is the approval of Ordinance 5005. Takes two-thirds. Two-thirds. Let's vote, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
Change. What? Okay?
No, I hit the wrong button.
Commissioner Epperson is a no. Motion fails.
I'm a no.
7-5. Motion fails. Okay. Next item, please.
Sir, ordinance 506 deems certain parish property to be surplus heavy equipment and air filters, authorize their sale.
Need a motion, please? It's been moved by Commissioner Lynch. Seconded by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion on the motion? Not, please vote. All right, that passes. Next item, please.
Ordinance 507 puts an ice machine at Earl Williams Park.
Moved by Commissioner Dominic, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Epperson?
Mr. Raymond, any movement to possibly look at putting ice machines at any other high-use parks? I passed Pitchback, and it was loaded down there.
No, so what precipitated this was someone approached us about wanting to do it as a business venture. We're certainly open to it at any of our...
Let's ask them if they'd like to explore some other, maybe high-use parks.
I can do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Any more discussion on the motion? If not, let's vote, please. That passes. Next item.
Yes, sir, ordinance 5008 sells surplus parish property.
So moved.
Second. Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Lynn. Any discussion on the motion? Not, please vote. Mr. Lynch? Vote. Thank you. Next item.
Ordinance 5009 sells adjudicated property.
So moved by Commissioner Thibodeau, seconded by Commissioner McCullough. Is there any discussion on the motion? Vote, please. That passes. Next item.
Ordinances for introduction by title. First one being ordinance 5010, deemed surplus parish property surplus, authorizes transfer to the Christian Services Program Institute. Ordinance 5011 deems parish property surplus, authorizes transfer to the Robinson Rescue Inc. Ordinance 5012 amends your code of ordinances to add the Smoke Mount Lane to the list of stop intersections. Ordinance 5013, accept streets in Pleasant Hill Road Estates, Unit 2. Ordinance 5014, accept streets in Southland Unit Number 1, parish system. Ordinance 5015, accept streets in Fontainebleau Estates, Unit 12, into the parish system. Ordinance 5016, accept streets in Big Oak Subdivision into the parish system. Ordinance 5017, accept streets in Pelican Point, Unit 2, into the parish system. Ordinance 5018, authorize the administrator to enter an agreement permanent right-of-way and servitude on parish property on Colworth Place subdivision. Ordinance 5019, sells adjudicating properties.
All right, let's move to resolutions, please.
Yes, sir. Resolution 41, calls a special election to vote on amendment to home rule charter. I think that's, boy, that's a moot point.
Okay, next one.
Resolution 42 expresses support of Amendment 2 on the statewide election ballot to increase the cap on severance tax revenues.
Moved by Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Vote, please. Commissioner McCullough? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Epperson, you have a point of information.
Okay, on the resolution regarding the severance tax, we are going to focus on ensuring that our citizens will understand.
Yes.
Okay, in parts, okay.
We have to do that with private money, which we're doing. Okay, next please.
Resolution 43 asks the state mental board to handle mental leases on property owned by the parish as requested by Classic Petroleum.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Thibodeau. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Lynch?
I have a question. I did receive the maps, and thank you for that. My question is, some of these sites are near residential properties. Are we taking any measures to notify them that these are up for lease, or how does that work? Are we notifying people within the vicinity of the proposed?
No, not outside of the public notice that the ordinances and resolutions generate naturally. No.
Some of them from the maps look pretty close to residential areas.
They do. We've never notified anybody. I mean, it's mineral leases. Most of them are already leased.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're in 11 and 12. I don't guess I'll be getting any phone calls, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the resolution? Please vote. Thank you. Next one.
Resolution 44 is another resolution asking the state mental board to lease properties of the parish as requested by Chesapeake.
So moved by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by Commissioner Thibodeau. Is there any discussion on this motion? Vote, please. Mr. Pearson? Thibodeau, you didn't register?
Yeah, I'm good.
McCullough?
I hit it.
I hit it again. There you go. Thank you. Next item, that passes.
Resolution 45 also authorizes lease of parish lands as requested by Red River Land Services.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson, seconded by Commissioner Dominic. Is there any discussion on this motion? Please vote. Thank you. That passes. Next, please, new business.
Reappoint Mr. Keenan Boylan to the Caddo Parish Sewer District Number 2.
So moved.
Second. Been moved by Commissioner McCullough, seconded by Commissioner Dominic to appoint Mr. Boylan, Sewer District Number 2. Any discussion on the motion? Please vote. That passes. Next item.
Reappoint Mr. Lonzo Stewart to the Board of Caddo Parish Waterworks District.
Second. Moved by Commissioner McCullough and seconded by Commissioner Dominic to reappoint Mr. Lonzo Stewart to the Waterworks District. Lakeview Waterworks District. Is there any discussion on this motion? Now, please vote. All right. Before we adjourn, we'll back up. Right now, I'd like to call forward Mr. Doc Voorhees, Chief Social Worker with VA Hospital. Please come forward.
Thank you, and it's good to see so many friends on the commission. I'd like to make this presentation on behalf of the Overton Brooks VA Medical Center to Mr. Kelly, that I understand that you're going to be honoring today.
Right there behind you.
Come forward. The Department of Veterans Affairs present this certificate to Mr. Chester Kelly with sincere appreciation for your service to America as a member of the United States Air Force and your exemplary service to veterans of the Arc-La-Tex. Your generosity and unselfish deeds touched thousands of veterans in the community and gave them a very special thank you for your service that many may have never heard. Your patriotism and commitment to our nation's veterans is exceptional and a beacon to all. Presented by the Overton Brooks VA Medical Center, signed by Dr. Virginia Short, Acting Medical Center Director. Thank you so much.
Turn it around so we can see what it is. Go in with it.
Come on back here. Got a resolution. Would everyone stand, please? State of Louisiana, Parish of Caddo, in the name and by the authority of the Caddo Parish Commission, resolution of recognition to Mr. Chester T. Kelly. Whereas it is the desire of the Caddo Parish Commission to always afford appropriate and well-deserved acknowledgement and appreciation to those citizens of this parish whose lives have been distinguished by egregious, community-mindedness, and selfless, generous public service. And whereas Mr. Chester T. Catfish Kelly has established himself as an institution in this community as both an accomplished restaurateur and businessman, and as a consistently visible and vocal advocate for the U.S. military forces and veterans. Owner and operator of Crescent Catfish Landing Restaurant for 25 years. He began in 1997 an annual tradition of serving free catfish dinners to veterans, and in 13 years he served more than 12,000 of those meals. And whereas as a decorated Air Force officer and pilot himself, Mr. Kelly flew combat missions over Vietnam. As a citizen of this community, he has continued to be active in veterans organizations to promote veterans' causes and interests. He also utilized his restaurant as the basis for numerous other community and civic causes. In particular, provided free fundraisers to meet the candidate nights for any candidate seeking political office in his district. And whereas Catfish Kelly also used his restaurant as a fundraising device for other causes, such as for the purchase of the Martin Luther King statue, for the prayer garden at Greenwood Acres Full Baptist Gospel Church, for funding Southwood High School band's trip to Washington, D.C., and helping send the Red River Children's Choir to perform in Carnegie Hall in New York, among others. The restaurant also provided thousands of dollars annually in gift certificates to various church, civic, and charitable groups. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission in legal session convened this 19th day of August, 2010, that it does hereby declare and proclaim August 20th through the 22nd, 2010, as Chester T. Kelly Weekend in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, in earnest recognition and heartfelt appreciation for the many ways in which Mr. Kelly has demonstrated himself as a good citizen, good neighbor, and true patriot of this community, state, and nation. Be it further resolved that this commission does urge all citizens of this parish to join in these sentiments and share in the expressions thereof. John Escadé, President. Ken Epperson, Sr., Commissioner, District 12. Chester.
indulge me for just a couple of minutes, I do have a couple things I'd like to say.
Please.
First of all, to all of you on the commission, I cannot begin to tell you what a great honor it is. Since I tend to be an emotional person, it might be hard for me to say some of these things, but it's truly a great honor for me for what you've done. And Commissioner Epperson, you have amazed me at what you have put together here. The gentleman is truly a wonderful friend of mine and a wonderful friend of the military and the veterans in general. And I know you're proud of that, as so many are here. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of my family here. My wife, Carol, is here. The Oathout family, which includes my daughter, Karen, and her husband, my son-in-law, Patrick. Karen is a school teacher, and Patrick is a coach and school teacher, along with my beautiful grandchildren, Haley, Sutton, and Addison, who are with them there. My stepdaughter, Erin, is here. Erin is a student, will soon be a registered nurse. My simulated mother, sister, aunt, whatever we can call her, Dot Miller, is here. But Dot is just as much a member of the family as if she was a blood relative. My sister-in-law, Susie Hawkins, is here, next to my wife. And most of those folks helped often in the Veterans Day celebrations at Crescent Landing. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge that Jane Malloy, who many of you probably know, the president of the West Shreveport Club, Rotary Club, is here. She's also a past district governor of Rotary. Also, I would be amiss if I did not briefly say thank you to the people who had helped co-sponsor our event at Crescent Landing through the years. From day one, the radio stations out in West Shreveport had supported us. It started with Bill Fry, who owned Empire Broadcasting, and he stepped in and said he'd do whatever it took to advertise the event. Then they sold out to Clear Channel, and they continued to support us, along with the prodding of Tom Pace here, who was my sales representative at the time. Then when Gap took over, Charlie Thomas continued the tradition of sponsoring the event with me. Excuse me. In addition, about 5 years ago, KMSS-TV stepped in and began advertising it on TV, and you can imagine the crowds began developing more and more over time. Then, over the years, over the 14 years or 13, whatever it was, my food distributor, Conco Food Service, began providing some of the fish. Doug Moran provided us pickled tomatoes. Icy provided us soft drinks, and Santa Maria gave us some coleslaw. And it's sort of interesting. To begin with, they would give just a little bit, and the next year a little more, and it sort of was the snowball effect. Walmart and Butchers even chipped in. And then, of course, I cannot begin to accept this honor without talking about my staff and employees at Crescent Landing, who always chipped in, and it was our favorite day of the year, I promise you. Now, just briefly, I want to comment that this all began probably because I was a Vietnam veteran, and as you know, there were no welcome home celebrations. In fact, the anti-war crowd tried to place the responsibility for Vietnam on those who served in Vietnam. I always thought that was sort of an example of sheer ignorance, because all it takes is a basic high school civics course to know that those who are called on to serve in the military do not have the option of deciding which is going to be a good war or a bad war. They simply follow the directions of the elected civilian leadership. And by the way, I should say, thank God that that is true, and that's one of the really hallmarks of the American way of life, that we have that type of a government. But I had also noticed that generally our military veterans were taken for granted. They served, oftentimes under extreme duress in combat that was ungodly, and yet no one ever seemed to say thank you. So I wanted for some years before I started doing this to do something to say thank you, and finally, 14 years ago, I decided to offer a free meal to veterans on Veterans Day. The irony is, it started as a free meal, And then over the years, where we probably had 200 or 300, served 200 or 300 that first year, to where before it was all over, we were serving 1,500, and it became a real celebration. And in fact, for me, it was a real irony, because when we started, so many veterans said things like, no one has ever said thank you before. You're the first person. One of the first gentlemen who came commented that he had been pulled off of the street in a ticker tape parade in New York City when he had returned from the European theater after World War II by a family that gave him a free meal to say thank you, and that no one had ever said thank you since until we did. The irony is that all I did during those periods was go from table to table and shake hands and say thank you for your service to America. Over time, that became an even more emotional experience for me, to simply look a veteran in the eye and shake their hand and say thank you for your service to this country. And over time, I began to really own the honor that I had to do that. It was ironic that because I was doing this, somehow or another, these veterans imputed in me some sort of authority or some sort of leadership, as if I was something more than what I was there. And I was aware of that, but in these occasions where we visited and talked and told stories back and forth, I realized that from time to time I was more than just a guy given a free meal. You would not believe the number of times that veterans said, Mr. Kelly, I've never told another living soul the story that I just told you. And the reason for that is really understandable. The veteran who has been in combat has experienced things that they do not want to share with their wives and their loved ones. And I realized more often than not, yes, I almost was playing the role of therapist with them. I would shake their hand. It was not uncommon for me to sit down and hold the hand of a veteran who was crying. I often cried with them. It was certainly not uncommon to laugh as we told good stories and fun times, but there were times of tears. I will not ever forget the time that the gentleman came in and just broke down at the table crying, and I asked his wife, help me here, and she said, well, we just came from North DeSoto High School, and they had the type of ceremony where one of the ROTC cadets and one of these beauties would come forward with a rose for each of the various wars, and they went from World War I and World War II, and then Vietnam, and then the Gulf War, and then I said, and they left Korea out, didn't they? And she said, yes. She said, this guy sitting next to me, she said, was in the trenches in Korea and lost not just one or two, but dozens of his fellow soldiers in the battle. And can you imagine, we do not even study or understand the trauma of what it must have been like for those men. Many times in temperatures below freezing, seeing not just thousands, but sometimes tens of thousands of the enemy coming at them all at once. Now, I could go through these stories over and over, and I will only tell you one more, and that is the veteran from World War II who entered the service at the age of 16, and who then was engaged in every battle of South Pacific. And I want you to know that he wakes up every night in a cold sweat. He is living today. See, we're talking about 45, we're talking about 65 years now. 65 years later, he wakes up in a cold sweat every night with post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I really did sit and hold his hand for a long time. And I'll tell you, you learn to appreciate the sacrifice that these men and women have given for our country. The irony is that I started this to say thank you to the veterans, and the irony is that over time it has turned around. I cannot step into a mall, I cannot go out to eat without one or two people stopping me. And of course many times I don't recognize them, but they will immediately say, I've seen you at Crescent Landing for Veterans Day, or thank you for what you've done for the veterans. And so it started as a thank you from me to them to me, and it's been perhaps the most rewarding experience of my life. So I accept this honor, both of them that have been given to me today, not for my own individual recognition, but I accept it on behalf of the men of the military who are here today, who are standing here with me. And I would like for everybody in the room who is a veteran, if you would please stand right now, as I formally say that I hereby accept this honor, not just on my own behalf. Thank you all for the honor, and God bless America.
Come on, anyway. You got a few more minutes. Ms. Lynch?
First, let me say, Mr. Kelly, thank you for your service, and then thank you for your service to other veterans. I'm hopeful, even though, the restaurant is closed, that you will continue in some shape, form, or fashion with that celebration. So we got to talk. We can keep that going.
Okay.
And the other thing, just on a personal note, want to thank you, because as a kind of a person that had never run for office before, having the support and a place to go to hold a fundraiser was very helpful to me, and I really appreciate you extending that to us little neophytes starting out, trying to get our bearings. And one of my favorite, and I know you've run for office and you've been a critic of politicians as well as an advocate for politicians, but I love that sign that you had up on your return, that both parties were screwing us. I thought that was great, and sometimes I feel that way, but certainly thank you, and I hope that you stay engaged with us, and we'll be talking about that celebration.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch. I appreciate it.
Mr. Cox?
Well, that's why I'm an independent. I have eaten at your restaurant more times than I can count, and if I stood up, you'd say, yeah, you have. You were a gentleman and a scholar. I miss your restaurant already, but your legacy will live forever. What you have done for veterans, no one will ever forget. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Dominic?
Mr. Kelly, I would just like to say you're a class act. I've been here several years now, and that was one of the best resolutions we have had. Commissioner Epperson, you did a terrific job putting this on. Jerry, you did an excellent job writing that resolution. Todd, you have a big road. I don't know how you got that on one page, but that was great. We just like to thank you. You've done a wonderful, wonderful job, and you've been thanking people, and it's time for us to take a time out to thank you, and we thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dominic.
Mr. McCullough?
I just wanted to say to you, thank you, and to the veterans, thank you, and that's why I have on my red lipstick, white and blue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kelly, I'll wrap it up. I just want to tell you that I appreciate all the work you've done. I think you're an example of the best type of leader, and that's one who leads by example. That's my preferred method, and you've led by example, showing appreciation for our veterans. I've shared with my fellow commissioners and administration before that it dawned on me about a year ago that as I come across older gentlemen, I remember my first recollections as a child was Chet Huntley, David Brinkley on the news, the body count every night, and you're dreading your day, and I'm a senior in high school, fixing to have to go register, and thank God for Richard Nixon that day, but it was over, so then I fell into that gap, and never gave it a lot of thought until about a year ago it dawned on me that as I see gentlemen like yourself, you wonder where they've been and what they've done in their lives, and you talk to them about them, and I've talked to several people and they've shared their stories, and then it occurred to me that all of a sudden, I'm talking to 24-year-old kids who are veterans of war now with what's been going on the last 8 or 9 years. And more than anything else, despite all that, it just says, be nice to everybody. You never know what they've been up to, no matter how young now. But you've led a life of example, and I hope I can follow some of it. I want to thank you. Mr. Thibodeau? Chester, had more people been able to hear the message that you gave today, you would be in U.S. Congress right now. We're adjourned. Okay.